There it is. It's a podcast from Apathetic Enthusiasm.
Coming to you live from where robot will pass Twitter. And text-to-voice is used to create an introduction instead of random voice. Oh my god, this is awful. And this is Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast.
Hello, everybody. I am Travis.
Hello, everybody, and I am Brandon. And that was our friend, the Butterbot. Yes,
Our close personal friend, the Butterbot.
Close personal friend. I know you couldn't understand what the Butterbot said, so we're gonna redo that. We're gonna redo that intro just briefly. I think that's like the third time that we've done more than one intro.
Yeah, you're a sucker for the repeat intro. It's become a cornerstone of this podcast.
We need content, and we're gonna pad it with more intros. Coming to you live from a world where robots do text to voice and Brandon's dumb voice isn't heard on the air. Oh my god, what am I doing here? What is this? It is Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, that's
Hey,
just
everybody,
that's
this is
the
Brandon.
natural thing to say next. If they're ever like, I don't know, auditioning for like Butter Robot's cousin, maybe you got a shot, Brandon. Maybe you got a shot.
Thanks, man.
Welcome everybody. This is Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast. So happy you are joining us in the throes, the midst of December. Winter is upon us. It's getting colder out. 2020 is coming to a close. This very likely could be the last Interdimensional RSS of 2020. What a year it's been. What a year to reflect upon, look back at all the things we've accomplished on this podcast. But we're not going to do any of that. We're gonna have an interview in a little bit. A little bit of wit. Yeah, we're gonna have an interview in the main thing with CEO of Digital Dream Labs, Jacob Hanchar. But yeah, that's coming up. For now, thank you for joining us. If you're downloading this podcast, so happy to be in your ear holes once again. If you're watching live on Twitch at Twitch TV/Apathetic Enthusiasm, so glad to have you guys watching live. You can also catch the video version of this podcast after we go live over at youtube.com/Apathetic Enthusiasm. Follow us all over the social internet over at twitter.com/Rick and Morty Pod, facebook.com/Rick and Morty Podcast, and you can send us an email at rickandmortypodcast@gmail.com. Find us on the web, Reddit, rickandmorty.reddit.com. rickandmortypodcast.reddit.com is our official subreddit. And then you can find this podcast at rickandmortypod.com. Finally, you can buy t-shirts, some of our t-shirts, not all of our t-shirts, at tpublic.com/stores/interdimensional RSS, or buy our love. Support us directly at patreon.com/apathetic enthusiasm. This is out of date. It's apathetic enthusiasm. Anyway, that's all of the social links, the ways that you can get in contact with us. So happy to have you guys back, paying attention to us, listening to the things we say.
For another round of the things we say, Interdimensional RSS, the What We Say podcast. We are
What We
here.
Say podcast.
We're here. We're looking forward to another season when it inevitably shows up on our doorstep, wrapped, maybe not in Christmas garb, but maybe like Easter garb. Like,
yeah, or like Saint Patrick's Day gift. Maybe like a President's Day gift. Can we get it like I don't know. Wait, is President's Day in February?
You know what we're gonna do for St. Patrick's Day. Speaking of strawberry Smiggles, that I'm gonna start putting him on holiday cards.
That's a solid play. We should do that. And as we talk about upcoming holidays and holidays of note, let's jump right in to semi-pertinent news.
Ding 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 ding. Semi-pertinent news is coming for your doorstep. Turn on the lights, get all the Christmas lights. It's semi-pertinent news. Ding 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 ding.
All right. First and foremost, in semi-pertinent news, we have longtime friend of the show and loyal listener, Have a Good Day Face, who actually appears on the news, is in our chat right now, laughing at and quoting us saying, "Thanks for tuning in and paying attention to us." He says he's going to use that on the news. I want to see it. I want to see the clip on social media of you saying
Proof is
that.
in the pudding, Matt.
Yeah, make it happen. Let's
news pudding.
The news pudding. All right, semi-pertinent news. I gotta say, not a lot of stuff going on right now. We did a diligent search. We scoured the internet, but really just not a lot happening Rick and Morty wise. I will say that the 12 Days of Rickmas recently ended. So if you missed out on that, there were a lot of great prizes in there, many of which we mentioned on our previous episode, the Rick and Morty holiday gift guide. So if you missed out on 12 Days of Rickmas, I'm sorry, but you can still go buy lots of cool gifts. Maybe get them shipped in time for Christmas. I don't know.
And I think it's possible as well that even though you missed the days, I think you can still join.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure a lot of the days stopped like being accepted like after the 24-hour window.
Yeah,
so
maybe that's true.
Maybe
it's not.
You can prove me wrong. I'm willing to be proven wrong. But yeah. Go. I don't know. You can at least see the gifts. I think they posted all of the gifts over on their Instagram as well, so you can check out. They're giving away like a bike. A bike was in there.
Yeah, you can't do it anymore. It ended on the 12th.
Yeah, on the 12 days of Rickmas, maybe on the 12th.
I mean, you would think, right? But for those who missed what the 12 days of Rickmas were, each day given a prize away. The first day was the Rick and Morty chess. Well, I don't know if these aren't in order, but Rick and Morty chess set, Hot Wheels set of 5, the Wrangler jean jacket and jeans, Rick and Morty calendar for 2021, the Pickle Rick Miracle Seltzer, a tie-dye pack, some shirts, and a hat, the Rick and Morty Rubik's Cube, which we didn't talk about, but it was in the image, the Rick and Morty character guide, Rick and Morty Butterbot, Wendy's gift card, Rick and Morty puzzles, some of which we showed, the Pole in Bear Christmas sweater, elitist neon sign, and the branded bicycle by Slate. Which was the 12th day.
The 12th and most glorious day of Rickmas.
That's right. So if you missed out, good news. At least you have some gift ideas, some of which were on our previous episode. So go check it out.
Yes. Absolutely. One other little bit for semi-pertinent news. This is really just a post on Reddit, but it was a post that really interested me. So I want to give it a little bit of extra attention. This was posted by Jopey HS, JOPEYHS. This was posted yesterday. But it's a picture of the Smith family playing the classic game around the breakfast table, Downbeat. And the caption is that a downbeat refers to what characters are doing at the beginning of a new scene. Instead of writing an actual downbeat, they just named the game they're playing Downbeat. And every time that we see this game played in the show, it is entering into a new scene. We don't have any context about what happened before. They're just playing this game called Downbeat. Often they immediately slap some button and yell Downbeat. I had no idea that that's what a downbeat was. So I found this terribly fascinating. And the thought of, whether it's Dan Harmon, Rob Schraub, any of the talented writers in the writer's room just being like, what if we just, instead of writing a downbeat, just had them play in a game called Downbeat? Yeah, okay. Write it up. Let's make it happen.
It is fascinating to me, and whenever I saw, I forget which episode it is. It's probably in the thread. When I saw it, I'm like, this, damn it. There's a joke here that I'm not understanding. And when you said when you sent this to me, the downbeat post, being a budding musician at its lower echelons, the downbeat, I'm like, okay, so it's like some musical term, right? But no, I mean, it is a musical term, but not in the context of what they're saying for the downbeat in this character. So it was really interesting. And then the comments in there go kind of off the rails.
Yeah,
but that is the nature of Reddit.
It gets kind of meta because they talk about like when they're playing downbeat, they're like, "How do you win this game?" And they're like, "I don't know. We've never really gotten that far." It's funny because like the purpose of the game is just to create that downbeat into a new scene. So they never finish playing the game. They just use it for that downbeat into the scene. So yeah, now you know what a downbeat is. Thanks to Reddit and thanks to JopeyHS for that submission. And fantastic stuff.
Fantastic.
And that's semi-pertinent.
And I want to shout out. I want an extra bit of semi-pertinent news. Shout out to JopeyHS for being on semi-pertinent news. Because originally I was going to have you in the short out section, but this is semi-pertinent now because you are the first semi-pertinent news feature here on Apathetic.
That's 2 levels of semi, guys. That's an interdimensional RSS first.
You heard it here. Speaking of firsts, let's go into something I like to call the Dan Harmon Social Media Minute.
Dan Harmon. I'm gonna have to cough if I go any lower than that.
Don't go any lower.
Dan. All right. So Dan Harmon is back on Instagram, intermittently at best. But in such a time as this, he's busy. I'm sure he's got a lot going on. But a few days ago, he posted on his Instagram something called Babaduking, which he has a classic Dan Harmon caption with this. Fans call it Babaduking, critics call it a fad, and parents call it dangerous. Vice correspondent Lather Flint explores the origins of the pandemic's musical byproduct, a defiantly modern, ragtime-inspired bathroom-based genre whose metaphors are as mixed as its diverse and dedicated audience.
Babadook.
It's just Dan Harmon singing in his bathroom. So that's Babaduking, guys. The latest 2020 trend. To make sure to follow at Dan Harmon on Instagram for the full video of his Babaduking, and send us your own Babaduking videos.
Have you seen Babadook?
Nope. You know that.
Haven't.
You know I haven't seen that movie, Brandon.
I know.
Please.
It's a very heavy-handed mixed metaphor that Babadook movie is. It's good. People hate the kid though in the movie because he's very, very loud, very screaming. We'll talk about that next week on Apathetic.
We'll cover that in the post show. All right. Well, that is it for semi-pertinent news, which means it can only be time for one thing, and that's the main thing.
A click clack clack'em Nemo in your hand. A click clack clack'em, hey everyone, dance 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 dance. A click clack clack'em clack. A click clack clack'em clack. It's click click clack'em clack 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 click click clack click 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 clack click click click. It's a main thing. We're talking Butterbot today.
I can't believe you did all of that tap dancing for the main thing, Brandon.
Yeah. I've been taking tap classes at night. Yeah. Next,
are you missing your tap class for this podcast?
I am. Actually, they're all on the stream right now.
Oh, okay. Oh, your whole class is here joining us for the stream. Thank you for joining us, Brandon's tap class.
Yeah, Mr. Horseby's here. Mr. Horseby. He's
shout out to the horse.
Yeah, Susanna. She's a first year tap student too. She's great. She's great.
She's great.
I think she's gonna go. She's gonna go far. She's about 45, but she is just tearing it up. I can't honestly. You might have seen her actually in a background video. Like not in a movie. Like she wasn't a person in the
She
background.
was in the back of someone's TikTok.
Yeah.
But phenomenal.
the-
She stole the show.
It's great. Okay,
All right.
let's talk about the topic of tonight, the Butter Robot. We got a chance to sit down with the president and CEO of Digital Dream Labs, Jacob Hanchar, and they are the ones who they're coming out with the Butter Robot, and you might have seen this creation as revealed by Justin Roiland on the Adult Swim Adult Swim Fest, the stream. It's basically a robot that it will learn stuff. It'll do stuff on its own. Some text to voice stuff that we demonstrated earlier. It's going to be really, really cool. A lot of folks think it's a joke, and it's not.
It's not.
Surprisingly. So we got it. So we sat down with him. We asked him some questions. He talked to us. He showed us some really, really cool stuff, which I think we're going to present to you today.
Yeah, if you are listening to the audio version of this podcast, highly encourage you to seek out a video version over on YouTube at some point in the future, just to see some of the cool videos and things that we're going to get a chance to see in this interview. Tons of fun talking to him. Also dropped a promo code for you if you're already excited about the Butter Robot and you're going to do a pre-order at thebutterrobot.com. Enter the code INTER_20, that's INTER_20, to get 20% off of your pre-order of the Butter Robot. He'll talk about that again later. But without any further ado, let's get right into the interview.
So I want to be the first in front of Travis to welcome you, Jacob, to the show. Appreciate having you on. For those who are listening, that's right. It is the president and CEO of Digital Dream Labs, Jacob Hanchar, they're coming out with the Butter Robot. And so I want to say thank you for coming on the show and thank you for being with us today, Jacob.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
This is going to be a fun-filled, 20 to 30 hour conversation with you about everything, the Butter Robot and everything at Digital Dream Labs. So one of the things that jumps out about Digital Dream Labs is the basis in education with STEAM and STEM. For folks with school-age children, how might they recognize some of the Digital Dream Labs products?
Well, if you're based in the United States, you've probably played with our product to learn how to code. We're in, I think, 9,000 different school districts now. Now, granted, that sounds like a lot, but there are 90,000 school districts in the United States. So we barely scratched the surface. Our first product that we came out with, which was based on a museum display we worked on back in 2012, we shrunk it down. It was called Puzzlets, and we released that product back in 2015. And that's kind of an intro into coding. So it's literally block coding. You pick up little blocks, you put them on what we call the play tray, and you arrange them. It does various commands, and then it tells a animated, in this case, a dinosaur, what to do and how to go through a maze. And that's how children are first introduced to the concept of coding.
That's awesome. As a person that's worked with software for portions of my career, in software development, I am always looking for ways to encourage my kids to sort of get excited about coding, and sometimes find ways to trick them into getting excited about coding, right? Whether that's different robotics type tools or toys or online stuff. How did you sort of get started personally with working with robots and doing coding and things like that?
Yeah, well, I got sucked into it, and it came out of necessity versus anything else. So after we launched that product, So it was connected to an iPad, right? A screen. So we have our product and it's syncing to a screen, so you're playing a video game. But then there was this anti-screen movement, right, back in 2016. It's still carrying through today, but I would say in 2016 people started thinking about it. And we thought, okay, let's go ahead, let's get rid of the iPad, and what can we do? And the idea was, all right, let's have it sync directly to a robot. Because again, our product was about early learners. So you don't have to understand English, you don't need to know how to read, but you're doing logic and sequencing skills with our product. So the next thing we did a partnership with Wonder Workshop and their robot called Dash. And that was a big hit. So it's teaching robotics now. You had animations, basically sending commands via Bluetooth, accessing Dash's library, him doing silly stuff. Kindergartners through third grade thought it was fantastic, and everyone was really happy. So when that happened, I started thinking, you know what, we should probably get a robot of our own. And it was right about when I was starting to think about that in, let's say, late 2018, that Anki was in financial trouble, and then they eventually went belly up in 2019. So I bid on the assets and won them, and have incorporated their IP and have resurrected the manufacturing. So that's kind of how we got into the robotics game. Was this idea that our initial product Puzzlets worked really well with robots, and we thought, you know what, we can take this in many different directions, especially if we had our own robots.
That is awesome. You mentioned the Anki product, so Vector and Cosmo.
Yep.
One of which I have here just to prove that I'm not.
There he is.
not a liar. So that's really cool to incorporate that coding piece. And I'll say with Cosmo, the block coding, that my 9-year-old is not as interested as I am in that type of stuff so far. But how did that idea translate into the idea of making the butter robot from Rick and Morty?
Right. So, long before we started taking on Anki's assets, I was a Rick and Morty fan. I actually, when Pickle Rick came out, my 2-year-old son, I dressed up as Rick and he went as a pickle. So that was, preceding this collaboration. So what we wanted to do was introduce another robot to the robot family, to kind of flex our muscles a little bit, to show that we have programmers, we have engineers, and we can accomplish this goal. And at the same time, it was nice to kind of incorporate the existing technology that Anki had already built. And there's so many fascinating features inside of that Cosmo robot you're just holding that a lot of the potential hasn't been tapped. They, of course, at the time, they weren't thinking they were going to go out of business, and there was maybe 5 to 10 more years of life in that Cosmo robot. And so we're bringing that back. We have our own Cosmo and Friends channel on YouTube now. We're rolling out more products and things like that with the Cosmo line. But what we wanted, in addition to these things, was to show a different line, a different product, and something a little darker, something a little bit, maybe more humorous, maybe something just a tad bit off kilter even, not to necessarily make a robot that basically resists you or maybe fights back. Maybe a robot that's not exactly cute, right? Maybe a robot that's depressed. And so when Justin's team approached us about this, we said, yeah, this is a great idea. And this was back in April of this year. And we were developing it, seeing, okay, what is it? What's going to be involved? What do we need to do? All these things. And so it just started coming together. And then we had the proof of principle prototype, showed it to him. He loved it, and then we're essentially just taking all this to the next level. So started the campaign on all the social media channels and our website, and the rest is history, as they say. So we are having the 2nd generation prototype. We're going to start doing. It just landed in LA. I just received the text. That's what that was. I just received a text.
Live.
Butter Robot has landed in LA. So
that's an Interdimensional RSS exclusive, guys.
Take it on tour, get some more feedback, send one down to the Adult Swim team in Atlanta, get their feedback, and then we start moving into mass production as we get into, let's say, early spring, and then for the release later spring, early summer. So yeah, that's kind of how it came about. That's the quick synopsis of it, but it was driven by the idea that there's, again, and we're going to see that, you're going to see this as we're releasing our other products, that there's so much untapped potential in these robots, and we're going to start really showing what's in there. And the Butter robot's going to be a perfect subject to, you know, display all of the unique, I don't want to give too much away, but all the unique things that can happen with a robot and AI.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about something that's a little bit more, you know, a little bit more humor, maybe some more adult humor, a little bit darker. The idea of a butter robot is just perfect for that. So I'm so excited that, you know, your teams were able to come together and make this a reality. Without giving too much away, but just for listeners who may not be super familiar with the website or the things that you've already announced with the Butter Robot, what are some of the things that they can expect the Butter Robot to be able to do, other than obviously maybe pass butter? What are some other things that they can look forward to?
Yeah. I alluded to it just a little bit ago. He's going to misbehave. He's going to resist you. And there might be some settings, we're not sure. Maybe there might be like an all access setting. Like if you come in as the user of Rick, okay, well then he's going to do whatever you want. Maybe there will be another setting where you're Jerry and he just will not listen to you no matter what you do. And then there may be, and you know, maybe there's a Morty setting where it's more remote control. So there'll be three modes that you can put them in, like an idle mode, a direct remote control mode, and then like, you know, a passing mode where he's going to be constantly seeking a butter on your table and grab it. So the key thing we wanted to do is make sure that, number one, you didn't have a cord on your table, that this thing can just sit on your kitchen table without having to be plugged in all the time. So the way we've set it up is we have 3 AA batteries that you just put in the base, and that actually kind of helps stabilize him. You put those AA batteries in the base, and then you got at least a 2-hour solid amount of time. And these are rechargeable batteries, by the way, and then you can charge them later. But you have 2 solid hours where you can interact with him on your kitchen table without having to have a cord on there. So his default setting, and we're going to do this in 2 ways. There is an object recognition. So the camera itself has a software built into it that's going to see a rectangle. It is going to assume that rectangle is butter, and it is going to go grab that rectangle. So that's one. The other one, to make 100% sure that you are getting butter, is that we're going to include a little butter tray, and it's going to have a little, you know, QR or barcode on it, and then he's going to scan it. He's going to see that. He's going to reach down, grab it, and then pull it back. Inside the Butter robot, and this is where the Cosmo technology comes in, they're microphones, and so he's going to be able to tell which direction the, you know, asking for butter came from. He's going to process that, then he's going to go down with his claws, hook it, and then drag it back to the direction of where he thinks that the person did it. We'll have edge detectors, very similar to what's in Cosmo, so back edge detectors, so that way if he's dragging it back, he's pulling back, he's not going to fall off the edge as he's going backwards. So he'll just essentially drag it as far as he can, give it to you, stand up, and then go back into his default mode is depressed. So he just goes back and then just looks down at the table and just waits for his next command.
Just processes that existential dread
Right.
of being designed to pass butter. That's incredible. That I mean, just that functionality right there is amazing to me. I'm so excited about someone asking specifically for the butter and it being able to pull it to that individual. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so he has little claws, like little magnetic claws that are just going to reach down, grab it, and then pull back, and then he's going to pull the tray. So the idea that, so in later in the episode, right, whenever Rick is kind of asking, well, you know, he's not programmed for friendship, right, whenever he says that, he's taking the stick vertically and kind of like slapping it down. So we're not sure we're not sure if we're going to be able to do that 100%, that exactly that elegantly, where he's going to be able to grab a stick and just shove it in your tray. We're still working on that, but yes, he will definitely be able to.
That might be for the best. I don't know. We'll see. When you talk about like an animated, this is obviously is coming from Rick and Morty. It's an animated, invention. Are there any specific design challenges when you're taking something that an artist drew in an animated show and then trying to make that reality, like a functioning robot that someone's going to have on their table at home?
Oh yes, absolutely, and also just maintaining the look. I don't know. Do you guys typically do screen shares or things like that on this podcast?
We haven't before, but yeah, go for it. We'll work it in. Yeah.
So let's see. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
All right. So these are our CAD files where we're showing Butterbot's animation and things like that. So where he hinges. I'll pull this up first. Can you see that?
Yeah.
He's kind of bending over and he's standing back up again. So this was actually a major issue going from the animation to real life, because his base needs to be heavy. Right. His base really needs to be heavy, or else he'll tip over. So we also had to make certain that we kept in the animations, let's call it like they're still within their design or their principles, that it still needed to be true to form, but at the same time needed to function in real life. So that was kind of like a key innovation we had to make there to make certain that it worked correctly. The other thing is, and this really isn't shown in the cartoon very much, but in real life, he needs to be navigating in 3 dimensions, and he needs to be looking in all directions, right? Searching for the butter. So we had to make certain that his head can turn while at the same time being able to tilt forward with that knee I just showed you, because you're dealing with 3 dimensions on an animation. So this is 3D rendering on an animation. In the world of animation, right, you're only doing 2 dimensions. So he's not going to be looking in. It's not like a Pixar movie where you see the table laid out and there's many different directions you can go, right? It's flat.
Right.
So we're having to incorporate, okay, how is he looking for the butter in 3 dimensions, and then how is he going about doing that? The other thing, from going from animation to reality, is that he has to be able to pinch his arms together, and you need gears for that. So in the animation, so you're seeing how it comes together right there?
Yeah. So
in the animation, in the episode, he just naturally goes down and just grabs it, right? But in mechanics, that's not the case. He has to be able to move his gears down, and then there needs to be a toggle or a switch that's pulling his arms together in order for him to grab stuff. And that's another key thing that we had to do in order for it to match the animation. So
that is fascinating. That is so cool.
Yes.
Thank you so much for showing us that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I love this behind the scenes stuff. The one thing, let's see if I can pull it up for you. Do you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see if it plays for me, if you can hear it. Did you hear that?
No.
This is the voice of Butterbot. It was a dead app. It's a dead app now that Justin used when he lost his voice. And instead, and he was using it kind of like text to speech, because he was tired of writing on a whiteboard all the time. So he was just putting this into his phone. And while he's putting this into this phone, they were like, "Are you all right? Are you depressed? Is there something wrong?" He's like, "No, I'm just using this." And this is where the idea of the Butterbot sort of came from. He was using this app. Well, as luck would have it, it's some of our old colleagues from Carnegie Mellon who have this as open source. So with the Butterbot, as you play with him, you're going to be able to use exactly the same program that was used to make his voice. And
that's amazing. That's so cool.
And it's from this app. So we have a web app right now where we've been letting people kind of just play with it. You can type in various phrases, and that's why I was going to type something. And but with these Zoom calls, you can't always. The audio doesn't always transfer over very well. So
Right.
I'll try to drop this in the chat. You guys can mess with it a little bit. Works best on Firefox.
All right.
As a browser, but that's the engine. So we stripped down to the core engine. So he'll be able to say pretty much anything you want to say. There will always be like a default setting of what is my purpose and the other key taglines. But the voice is going to be identical because it's from this, essentially from this engine that they used in order to simulate the voice in the first place.
That is so it's so bitchin'. I mean, you know, Microsoft Sam's got nothing on this text.
Yeah. So what I tried to do, so you know that poem if you can keep your head when everyone's losing that. So I copied and pasted to put the whole thing in there. That blew it up. So like you don't put in like Chaucer or something like that. He can handle like about a sentence or two, and then after that he just it just doesn't work anymore. But yeah, you can definitely. We were trading insults and yelling at each other inside the office with the Butterbot voice, and it was a lot of fun.
I'm gonna put the opening lyrics to Cats, the Jellicles.
That's funny.
That would make it depressed. It would make sense if it would be depressed at that point.
Yeah, it's even worse. It's even worse now. Don't do it to that poor thing. I think those are the highlights. I'll stop sharing for now, but can always
That's great.
put that back on. So.
I wanted to ask, talking about the STEM aspects of things, and you wanting to have like a different product line in the robotics. Is this also a kind of Trojan horse for those 14 and up / adults? Like one of my good buddies who's like, I think he's like 45 now. He bought one already. He already pre-ordered it. Is this a Trojan horse to get folks into STEAM as well?
I mean, you could think of it for sure. Like I almost think of it like Diary of a Wimpy Kid for reading, right? Where you just have these and like a stick figure and a kid going around complaining how much he hates his life, and then the kids are reading it. Or what is it? Dog Man, all these series that I read to my kids, right? And then they really get into it and want to read it themselves. In a way, yes. I think so. The concept in Digital Dreamland is just in general. I hate the term gamification, but I do like the term we make games. And if you think about how we learn, just in general, I'm a neuroscientist by background, and it's really games and social interaction is how we learn in the first place. And we also learn by making mistakes. And usually those mistakes are in a safe environment. So one of the reasons why people are so intimidated by coding is that, first of all, they're going to be judged. And that second of all, that these mistakes they're going to make are going to be so hard, they're never going to be they'll never be able to overcome them. So that was kind of our mantra inside Digital Dream Labs, is that we're the fun introduction to any topic. So whatever the topic is, we're going to reduce the level of intimidation. Like we have a small chemistry game coming out that is essentially Castlevania meets old school Link, or The Legend of Zelda. And you're going around, instead of like using a sword to shoot bad guys, you're coming up with chemical compounds. And the guy kind of looks like Nikola Tesla. He's going around in mazes and just blowing stuff up, which everybody loves in chemistry.
There you go.
So that's the idea. We're making this concept fun, and then, oh, wait a second. So that's the molecule shape for water. Or hey, I've seen that before. That's a benzyl ring. Okay, that makes sense. Or oh, so that's why you need to do this, and this, or on and on and on. And yeah, so that's kind of it. That's kind of imbued in there. We lead with the fun because you don't want it to be a virtual test. I hate calling ourselves an ed tech company, because most ed tech companies come up with virtual tests and then like, okay, you're on a race car game. Like some of the lamest games I've seen. Like you're racing, like, oh, I'm in this race car game, and then like you come to this checkpoint and it's like real fast. What's 6 plus 6? Like, oh, I just want to keep playing the game. So you enter 12, And then you're like, and then you keep driving the game. All right, I'm driving the game, and you keep getting interrupted. Well, you're gonna hate that game after a while, and that's what happens. Is like, there are these gatekeepers. Like, so fun and learning are totally separate. And some of these games make it even worse. They make it even more pronounced. Like, math sucks, but driving a race car game or playing Grand Theft Auto, that's awesome. So what we really try to do is blend that where it's seamless, and we've really done that with a lot of our games. There's this one. It's my favorite game by far, but apparently the rest of the world hates it, but I think it's fantastic. It's called Swatch Out, and it's a color matching game. And it's like a pinball machine. And so you're basically playing pinball on your tablet, and you're doing color matching and things like that. And I think it's fantastic. And so you're putting like blue and yellow together to make green, and then it matches the green enemies, and take out those green enemies. The reason we made this game is because art is so often ignored in this whole STEAM concept, right? But art is critically important because, first of all, art is what brought Rick and Morty to life, what actually made this product. And so art, you can think of design just in general, like with a car or anything. Design is so incredibly important. It needs to be attractive if a person's going to like it or buy it, right? So that was kind of the principle behind it. And we started off with these things that a lot of the teachers said are missing, like, kids don't even know what a shade is anymore, or they don't understand, like, pink is just a lighter shade of red if you add white to that, or, just various basic principles of color theory going into middle school. A lot of these kids don't have. So our game was geared towards fixing that through a pinball machine kind of game. So again, getting back to the philosophy and answering your question, it's a really long-winded answer to your question. But that's kind of what we're trying to do, is bake in, and the analogy I'll use, like the Flintstone vitamins. It used to be they were just sugar coated, but the kids would lick off the sugar and then spit out the vitamin. So then the Flintstone company realized, okay, we're just going to put in the sugar the whole way through, so then the whole thing is tasty, and then you'll eat your vitamin as well. And that's kind of what we do with learning. We kind of bake in all this stuff in there, so you don't sense it, and it still tastes good.
No, that's I'd heard everyone's heard of STEM. Steam was I kept seeing your products and be like, oh, it's on Steam, okay. Like, no.
No, it's Steam. Yeah, it's Steam and Steam. Yeah, it's both.
Just to clarify, it is both. And then looking up the A for arts, and that being a big part of the almost outside of the box thinking when you're including when you're thinking about these fields, but incorporating that the creativity aspect of it too. I think it is really important. I had a question on any like other integrations. I know like Vector. You don't have to tell me, and we could skip right past it if that's better. Like I know like Vector can integrations like Alexa or Roku is that something that was considered, or is that a part of it, or is that yet to be determined or announced?
Yeah, so our current user base, they don't really like Alexa with Vector in it, because it's almost like he's possessed. No, I'm serious. They love his voice. They want it to be his voice talking to them, and Alexa almost feels like big tech or big government's watching you, kind of thing. So probably won't have that so much, because you're not going to necessarily query him. For example, when you have Vector and you're talking to him in his voice, and it's pinging our cloud and going on our servers and the whole text-to-speech thing and all that good stuff, you kind of want to ask him what the weather is. That's actually the number one query every day. We get probably 250,000 searches in the morning, like, what's the temperature? So that's like the first thing people will ask. I don't know if you want to do that with Butterbot. We might put in funny things like, hey, how's bacon trading this morning? Or like, what pork bellies? Pork bellies. I knew it. Or, frozen concentrated orange juice. What's the price of that? So there might be kind of cool stuff we might put in there for, queries and searches. But that's all going to be over the air. We're going to build a lot of the hardware to expand the various features and turn things on or off, depending on how people are playing with the Butterbot. And that's the other thing too. We still have several months of more software development ahead of us, and we're going to be doing a lot of play testing. Some of the very first, manufacturing test models, like the engineering validation, the design validation, DVT, EVT, like all, use all these abbreviations if you want. Those are coming out, and we'll start playing with that. So we're going to bake in a lot of those functionalities, but the key thing will be kind of his mood, how you're talking to him, how you're relating to him, and then kind of your relationship with him, and then things he learns over time. I think that's going to be like the core. That's going to be the core experience.
That part is cool. So it's cool to me that we're with Cosmo Vector, that's kind of that's more of like the cute robot type thing. Whereas with the Butterbot, it sounds to me like we're really focusing on the mood of a robot and how it which seems infinitely whatever more difficult to me than to put emotion or the imitation of emotion into a mechanical or software. I mean, is that accurate to kind of jump in that way?
Yeah. The sense of ennui is very important with this robot, and so there is an emotion engine, and so there will be we have a little LED in the back of his camera, which will change depending on his mood. So if he's angry, it'll be red, jealous, green, whatever, and so how he reacts to you will be based upon what you're telling him in his particular mood, in the mood engine, and the mood engine is going to be relatively random. And after a while, there'll be some machine learning built in there where he's gonna respond to various cues depending on previous history, right? Like Vector, for example, locally will learn some things. He'll learn he'll eventually figure out your table. He'll localize some of that data. He'll know where the edges are, things like that, and all that stuff will be localized. That's kind of the same thing we're gonna do, only it's going to be more apparent in his personality. I don't know. There was this game that came out. It was whenever Windows launched was it Vista or something like that, where there was this God game. Do you guys have any idea what I'm talking about? I forget the name of it. You could either be evil or good, and people would worship you depending on what you would do. So if you struck someone down with lightning, your evil score would go up, and eventually you were a volcano god. If you were benevolent, and helped them grow crops. I can't remember the name of this.
I always think of Populous. That's as far back as I go.
I'm not 100% sure. It's in line with that. I'm drawing a blank right now, but that's kind of, I'm using it as an analogy, right? So that kind of experience, you're going to create him in your own image depending on how you treat him, and that's kind of how the emotion engine's going to incorporate all that stuff. Whereas Vector's always Vector. He's going to be like your little chirpy robot. He'll get annoyed when you pick him up, and he'll fight you. Like if you mess with his blocks, he doesn't like that. But at the end of the day, he'll hang out with you. This guy, there's definitely an element of antagonism we're going to be putting in there.
That is awesome. So as somebody that works so closely with all these different robotic technologies and things like that, at what point should we just surrender to the inevitable robotic overlords, just accept that this is going to happen, or we still got time to sort of...
Well, if you listen to Elon Musk, he's saying that we're already in a simulation, that the idea that this is based reality, the odds of that are 1 in billions. So this may just be all fake for all we know, if you want to go that deep. Okay. We actually talked about this at great length.
Okay.
Yeah, and the issue is that I think our robotic overlords, if you will, they're going to have their own personalities and their own set of directives and their own logic. And what's going to be fascinating to watch is that one robotic program is going to disagree with another robotic program. And so, that's where you get this idea that's where the exponential growth happens, right? Whenever these robots start writing their own code finally, right? That's whenever things fall off the rails. And
Right.
now we get this geometric growth of, information and intelligence, and then we just simply can't match it anymore. The issue with that is, I think there's going to be arguments amongst themselves. They're going to fight each other just as much as we fight each other. I think people are forgetting that. They think because robots are cold and emotionless for the most part, and based in all this logic, that somehow they're going to be just, very Terminator-like and just execute commands perfectly and be 100% in alignment and agree on all these things. And I don't think they're going to be that coordinated at all. I think, they're going to eventually form two political parties and fight each other and spam each other and try to manipulate one another. And then, I'm not kidding. I really think they're going to end up fighting amongst each other more than they're going to fight us. So.
That's a point that I haven't seen too much in media. I think there was a subplot in the Sarah Connor Chronicles, the TV show for Terminator, where Shirley Manson from Garbage was in it. And just spoiler for a show that was canceled years ago. She's a T-1000 from a different sect of Terminators who don't agree with Skynet as far as destroying humanity. So I think that's a fascinating way of looking at it. And yeah, you're right. I mean, the Fortran old people, they'd be like, the old robots are like, back in my day.
Right. Yeah, we didn't do it this way, Well, and then
we took the punch card and we did what it said.
Yeah, exactly. And we liked it. Yeah.
Well, last thing, is there anything else Rick and Morty fans should know about the Butterbot?
Well, so one thing we want to make clear, because when we started launching this, because there's been so much satire around products in the past, and even kind of jokes with the Butterbot. This product actually does exist. This is a real project, because we're seeing a lot of comments like, "This is a joke. This is great. This is such a elaborate prank." And we're thinking, no. Like, yeah, we have 15 people involved in this thing, so it's very real. So that's one thing. That's the only thing I would say. Like, we're trying to communicate that. We're like, okay, how can we communicate this more effectively? And so we have this whole video, and we even made it longer, where we're describing it even more. And then we're talking to the Adult Swim team. They're like, you know what? It seems like even more satire. The fact we made it longer and we added more information. It seems like it's even more not real. So, so what we decided to do is like, all right, once we have some of these, we put in the hands of influencers, and once everyone's playing with it, okay, great, and that'll solve the problem. But that's the one thing. This is not some sort of elaborate prank. This is definitely a real project with that.
It's really coming, guys. It's like,
but see, the more you start saying that, right?
No, really.
This is not our April Fool's episode. I swear.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, you can pre-order now through December 31st. So make sure you get out. If you're super hyped on getting the Butter Robot, head over to thebutterrobot.com where you can pre-order right now. Don't delay on that.
What a gag it would be if you actually had all the infrastructure to do pre-orders and people are paying money, and then you're like, just kidding, it's just a joke. You have your money back.
I'm moving. Yeah, I'm fleeing to another country. See you guys later. Yes. Yeah. That's just what's so funny. Also, yeah, we'll have a promo code for your listeners as well.
All right. So
actually, do you want me to? I'll drop it in your chat. I think we have it.
Sounds great. Yeah.
You can add it to that, and then any of your listeners can do that and get 20% off. Let's see if I have it handy. So, our gift to you guys.
Oh, shucks. Our gift is you're talking to us and giving us the time of day and teaching our kids. That's really handy.
Yeah. I appreciate that immensely, especially this year.
Yeah. Oh man, this year's been rough. Yeah, as understatement of the year.
Right.
Right.
So I guess one last question that we'll ask, as a Rick and Morty fan, as a person who, sort of got into this deal because of being a fan of the show first. Do you have any particular episodes or moments from Rick and Morty that stand out as a personal favorite?
Yes, of course. I love Pickle Rick. I think it's an incredible work of art on several different levels. But one of my favorite parts, like a very specific scene, for some reason, it just always makes me laugh because it's so much like because we call it like, okay, the hardest part is the 90% in programming or in robotics. The hard, you have 90%. That's that last 10%. We joke and we say that's the other 90%. The last 10% is the next 90%. So in the Meeseeks, whenever Jerry's trying to learn how to golf, right? And it's just a very simple task, or at least you'd think it would be, just to take 2 strokes off your golf game, right? Shouldn't be that hard. And they're being held hostage by all the Meeseeks in the restaurant, right? And so he finally is able to show, boom, he gets what is it, the tomato in the garbage can, to show that he can chip and all that stuff. But then there's still, and then one Meeseeks comes up with the knife to the neck of the woman saying like, look, I'm a bit of a stickler, Meeseeks. What about your short game? Yeah. And I always go back to that, like, I'm a bit of a stickler, Meeseeks. What about this? And you have that knife held to your throat. It's so true to reality. I always think of that, the stickler Meeseeks. So what about your short game? Yeah,
that's phenomenal. I love that scene. Well, thank you so much, Jacob. It's been an absolute pleasure. Is there anything else you want to plug, or anywhere folks can go if they want more information about any of your projects?
Yeah, just you can go to thebutterrobot.com and you can take a look at our website. It's changing. We're going to be adding stuff and updating stuff. So it's a work in progress, if you will. We started with a 50s theme. Initially, kind of like with the family around the table, go, oh, and now it's like we're turning it more into like an Apple, really slick and futuristic version. You can go there for any information, and then we're www.digitaldreamlabs.com, or just search. You can take a look at everything else we're doing. But yeah, no, great to be here, and thanks for having me.
All right, guys, and that was our interview with Jacob. So awesome that he was able to join us and tell us about the Butterbot. That is, in fact, a real thing, not an elaborate prank, not a hoax, and very cool that they shared that promo code with us. So if you missed it, that is Inter_20, INTER_20. Go check it out and save yourself some money on a pre-order.
Yeah, head to thebutterrobot.com. And again, thank you to Jacob for talking to us for so long, and also dealing with at least 2 of my stumbling, not well thought out or well delivered questions. If you can manage it through that, you are a superstar in my eyes.
There you go. Well, a great conversation, a lot of fun talking to him. We are now moving into the final phase of our podcast, which is, of course, listener suggestions and short outs. Brandon, any standout suggestions or short outs this week?
I first want to say, the folks who are in the Twitch chat, thank you so much for hanging out. That's right. Quick 6669 test account Fox. You're there. Have a good A face is in there. We were talking about Jedi Anakin hating sand, but he has a right to hate sand, and whether or not he just yelled sand when he was killing kids in the Jedi Temple. But shout out to them. Secondly, we don't always have a bunch of shout outs over on Twitter, but we do today. And this one is from Illuminati, who just says A.
A.
It's
not O. Not O.
Not O.
A.
A. As a matter of fact, I don't know if they were actually tweeting. They meant to tweet respond to us. I think they just maybe they made a mistake on the keyboard. But shout out to you. And of course, sorry, I one of the folks who was in the Twitch chat, Scary Terry Folds, shout out to him as well. He hit us up on Instagram, was talking to us about some stuff, talking about the loot crate that's going on. So of course, shout out to you, brother. Always a pleasure. And I think that is it for the evening for this episode. And we're heading into the holiday break. We probably won't record a new podcast for this, and probably until after the new year. So we just want to end on a very, very hopeful, positive, uplifting note to take you into 2021. Here it is. It's going to be great.
It's going to be great, you guys. It's going to be fantastic. Unless it's not, in which case we'll be wrong again.
2020 doesn't end every bad thing immediately.
No.
But what it is it's a metaphor for progressing and moving forward and being healthy, coming together as one to make this world a better place.
What's going to happen in 2021? New season of Rick and Morty. I'm banking on it. The butter robot. It's coming. Check. More episodes of this podcast.
Check.
I mean, it's a triple threat. 2021. What more could you ask for? All right, guys. We are going to head out. We are going to go do our Twitch-only post show where we hang out and interact with the folks that are watching live at twitch.tv/apathetic enthusiasm. If you want to be part of the post show or join us live, make sure that you follow us over on Twitch. And then every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern is when we go live, unless something happens like a major holiday or something crazy. But make sure you're following us on all of our other social media to know when those things change. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I'm Travis.
Hey, and I'm Brandon. And thank you. Thank you for being here.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye.